My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 28 years old, and in exactly 43 minutes, I'm going to destroy the man I thought I would spend the rest of my life with. Standing here in my $12,000 Vera Wang wedding dress, looking at my reflection in the mirror of the Plaza Hotel's bridal suite, I barely recognize myself anymore. A month ago, I was just another successful Harvard graduate living the Manhattan dream, youngest senior investment banker at Goldman Sachs, owner of a stunning Upper East Side penthouse, and engaged to who I thought was the perfect man. Now, I'm about to become the woman who turned New York's wedding of the year into a spectacle no one will ever forget. The past 3 weeks have been a masterclass in acting, pretending everything was perfect while I meticulously planned every detail of my revenge. You see, I wasn't always this calculated or cold. Just a month ago, I was Sarah Mitchell, a successful 28-year-old investment banker at Goldman Sachs, madly in love with James Harrison, the charming corporate lawyer I met at a charity gala 3 years ago. We were Manhattan's golden couple, young, successful, and seemingly perfect for each other. James proposed on a private yacht during sunset last year, with a 4-carat diamond ring that made all my friends gasp. We spent a year planning this $300,000 wedding, and I truly believed I was living my own fairy tale, until that rainy Tuesday night when my entire world shattered into a million pieces. I remember every excruciating detail of that evening. I was working late at the office finalizing some documents for a major merger when I received an anonymous email. Usually, I'd ignore such things, but the subject line made my blood run cold. Your fiancé isn't who you think he is. Attached were dozens of photos and text messages between James and my maid of honor, Rebecca, my best friend since college. The timestamps showed their affair had been going on for over 8 months. The messages were explicit, detailing their encounters in our apartment while I was traveling for work, their secret weekends in the Hamptons, and their plans to continue their relationship even after our wedding. But what broke me wasn't just the physical betrayal. It was their cruel jokes about me, their mockery of my trust, and their complete disregard for the life I thought I was building. That night, as rain pounded against my office windows and thunder rolled across the New York sky, something inside me changed. The naive, trusting woman who believed in true love died, and in her place rose someone else, someone stronger, colder, and determined to make them pay. I didn't confront them immediately. Instead, I began gathering more evidence, hiring a private investigator who uncovered even more betrayals. James hadn't just been sleeping with Rebecca. There were others, including one of his junior associates at the law firm. But Rebecca's betrayal cut the deepest. She had been by my side through everything, helping me pick out my wedding dress, planning my bachelorette party, and all the while sleeping with my fiancé behind my back. As I stand here now in this exquisite ballroom, watching the guests arrive in their finest attire, I can't help but smile at what's about to unfold. The evidence is ready. Hundreds of copies of photos, text messages, and hotel receipts are sealed in elegant envelopes matching our wedding invitations perfectly. The videographer is in position, ready to capture every moment of the destruction I'm about to unleash. Even the string quartet has been instructed to keep playing, no matter what happens. In less than an hour, I'm going to walk down that aisle. But instead of saying I do, I'm going to expose every dirty secret, every lie, and every betrayal in front of everyone they know. People always say revenge is a dish best served cold, but I prefer to think of it as an art form that requires perfect timing and flawless execution. The past 3 weeks have been a masterclass in deception, something I learned I'm surprisingly good at. Who would have thought my experience in corporate strategy would come in handy for orchestrating the perfect revenge? It all started the morning after I discovered their betrayal. I remember staring at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, tears streaming down my face when something inside me just clicked. Instead of confronting them immediately, I decided to play the long game. I hired the city's best private investigator, Michael Torres, expensive at $500 per hour, but worth every penny. While I maintained my routine, kissing James goodbye each morning and discussing wedding details with Rebecca over lunch, Michael was uncovering a web of lies that went far deeper than I could have imagined. The evidence he gathered was like a punch to the gut. Not only had James and Rebecca been carrying on their affair for 8 months, but they had also been planning their future together. A joint account at Chase Manhattan Bank, a recently purchased condo in Miami, and This one made me laugh through my tears. Couples therapy sessions to work through their guilt. The same therapist, by the way, who had been counseling James and me about pre-wedding jitters. The irony would be delicious if it wasn't so painful. But the real goldmine came from James's law firm. Through some careful manipulation and a generous payment to a disgruntled IT employee, I obtained emails showing James had been embezzling from the firm's client accounts. My darling fiancé had been funding his lavish lifestyle with Rebecca using stolen money. Those romantic getaways to the Hamptons, paid for with embezzled funds, the Cartier bracelet he gave her for their 6-month anniversary, same story. The prestigious law firm of Harrison & Associates would be very interested in these findings, right after I'm done with my wedding ceremony. 2 weeks ago, I began what I like to call psychological warfare. Small things at first, taking longer to respond to their messages, being slightly distant during dinner, making cryptic comments about loyalty during wedding planning meetings. I watched as their confidence slowly crumbled into unease. Rebecca started asking more questions about my mood changes, while James became increasingly nervous, checking my phone when he thought I wasn't looking. During our final wedding dress, fitting last week, Rebecca broke down in tears, claiming she was just so happy for me. I hugged her tight and whispered that everything would come out perfectly in the end. The fear in her eyes was palpable. She knew something wasn't right, but couldn't quite put her finger on it. 3 days ago, I implemented phase 2 of my plan. Anonymous tips were sent to several of James's colleagues about financial irregularities in his cases. The managing partners scheduled an audit for Monday, the day after our wedding. Perfect timing, wouldn't you say? I also made sure Rebecca's boss at her prestigious PR firm would receive a detailed dossier about her ethical conduct, first thing. Monday morning. Their worlds wouldn't just crash at the wedding. The aftermath would destroy everything they've built. Last night at our rehearsal dinner at Le Bernardin, I watched them squirm as I raised my glass for a toast. To truth, I said, my eyes locked with James's, and to karma. His hand trembled as he lifted his champagne glass. Rebecca excused herself to the bathroom twice, her face pale and drawn. They could sense something was coming but had no idea what was about to hit them. Now, as I make final adjustments to my veil, everything is in place. The videographer, actually an investigative journalist from the New York Post, is positioned perfectly. Every major news outlet in the city has received an anonymous tip about a society wedding gone wrong at the plaza today. The evidence packages are hidden beneath every guest's seat, ready to be discovered at just the right moment. In less than an hour, I'll walk down that aisle, but instead of saying I do, I'm going to give them a show they'll never forget. The wedding march begins to play, and I can feel my heart racing, not with pre-wedding jitters, but with pure adrenaline. My father takes my arm, completely unaware that he's about to witness his daughter orchestrate the most dramatic takedown in Plaza Hotel history. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," he whispers. If only he knew what was hidden beneath my bouquet of white roses, a small remote control that would trigger everything I've planned. The doors to the grand ballroom open, and I begin my walk down the aisle. 250 pairs of eyes turn to admire the blushing bride, their phones raised to capture what they think will be a magical moment. James stands at the altar, handsome in his custom Tom Ford tuxedo, smiling that perfect smile that once made my heart skip a beat. Now it just makes my stomach turn. Rebecca stands to the left with the other bridesmaids, wearing the $2,000 designer dress I chose for them. The same dress she wore when meeting James at the Standard Hotel last week. My private investigator got some lovely photos of that rendezvous. As I reach the altar, I notice James's slight tremor as he takes my hand. He's nervous, but not for the reasons everyone assumes. The minister begins the ceremony, his voice echoing through the grand space. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." I let him continue until he reaches the part about speaking now or forever holding your peace. That's my cue. "Actually," I say, my voice clear and steady, "I have something to say." The collective gasp from the audience is audible. James's hand tightens around mine, but I pull away. Before we proceed, I'd like everyone to check under their seats. There's a special wedding favor I've prepared. The rustle of 250 people reaching under their chairs fills the ballroom. The look of confusion on their faces quickly turns to shock as they open the elegant envelopes matching our wedding invitations. Inside, they find detailed evidence of James and Rebecca's affair: photos, text messages, hotel receipts, and bank statements. But that's just the appetizer. James, I turned to face him, my voice carrying through the professional-grade microphones I had secretly installed. Would you like to explain to our guests why you've been embezzling from your law firm to fund your affair with my maid of honor? His face drains of color. Rebecca sways slightly on her feet. Or perhaps Rebecca would like to share why she's been helping you launder money through that cute little condo in Miami? The screens around the ballroom, originally intended for a romantic photo montage, spring to life, displaying surveillance, footage, bank statements, and intimate photos. The gasps turn to murmurs, then to outright exclamations of shock. I spot James's managing partner in the audience, his face turning purple with rage as he scrolls through the financial documents in his envelope. But wait, I continue, my voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around us. There's more. You see, while you two were planning your future together, I was planning something too. Right now, the SEC is receiving detailed documentation of your financial fraud, James. And Rebecca, your firm's board of directors is getting a full report of how you helped cover it up. Oh, and those photos you thought you deleted from your phones? They're being uploaded to social media as I speak. The ballroom erupts in chaos. James lunges forward, grabbing my arm. You can't do this, he hisses. But I'm prepared. The security team I hired steps forward, creating a barrier between us. Cameras flash as reporters who are strategically placed among the guests capture every moment. This isn't just a wedding anymore. It's breaking news. Actually, I can, and I did. The next few minutes unfold like a scene from a movie, but this is better because it's real. It's my revenge coming to perfect fruition. James's father, a federal judge, stands up and demands silence, but his authority is drowned out by the chaos. Rebecca has collapsed into a chair, mascara streaming down her face as her socialite mother tries desperately to shield her from the cameras. The string quartet following my explicit instructions continues playing, a surreal soundtrack to the unfolding destruction. I spent $300,000 on this wedding, I announce, my voice cutting through the chaos. Consider it an investment in exposing the truth. And speaking of investments, I turn to face the corporate table where James's law partners sit, their faces a mix of fury and disbelief. You'll find detailed records of every client account James has embezzled from in the past 18 months. I'm sure the Bar Association will be particularly interested in those documents. Security guards position themselves at the exits, not to keep people in, but to prevent James and Rebecca from escaping. I watch as James's perfect facade finally cracks. He runs his hands through his perfectly styled hair, desperation replacing his usual confidence. Sarah, please, he begs. We can talk about this. The same words he used to convince clients to trust him with their millions before he stole from them. Talk? I laugh, but there's no humor in it. Like how you and Rebecca talked about me during your romantic weekends in the Hamptons. I press a button on my hidden remote, and the screens now display their text messages. Should we talk about how you mocked my trust, or how you plan to continue your affair after our wedding? The evidence is devastating, personal, and meticulously organized. Each revelation hits like a perfectly timed bomb. I watch as realization dawns on the faces of our guests. This isn't just a scorned bride's emotional outburst. This is a calculated execution of justice. You know what the funny thing is? I continue, removing my engagement ring. I actually thank you both. You taught me something valuable about myself. I'm not just the naive girl who believed in fairy tales anymore. You underestimated me, thought I was too trusting, too focused on my career to notice. But what you never realized was that the same skills that made me successful in banking, attention to detail, strategic thinking, patience, made me exceptional at planning this revenge. I tossed the 4-carat diamond ring at James's feet. The sound of it hitting the marble floor echoes through the now silent ballroom. Consider it your severance package. You'll need it for your legal fees. Rebecca finally finds her voice. How could you do this to us? She screams, mascara streaking down her face. I turn to her, feeling a cold smile spread across my face. How could I? The same way you could sleep with my fiancé in my bed while helping me plan this wedding. The same way you could look me in the eye every day and pretend to be my best friend. The difference is, I'm not hiding anything anymore. The truth hurts, doesn't it? The next moments unfold in what feels like slow motion. Through the grand windows of the plaza, I can see news vans arriving, right on schedule. My anonymous tips to the media have paid off perfectly. James's law partner, Richard, is now on the phone, his face red with fury, presumably calling an emergency board meeting. Several of their prominent clients in attendance are already leaving, phones pressed to their ears, desperately trying to verify if their accounts were among those compromised. But wait, I announce, my voice carrying over the chaos. There's one final surprise. I nod to the videographer who switches the screens to a live feed. While we're all here, I thought we might enjoy some footage from the bachelor party last week. James's face goes from pale to ashen. You see, while you thought you were being clever meeting Rebecca at the Standard Hotel after your official bachelor party, you didn't notice the private investigator I hired documenting everything. But that's not even the best part. I turn to face the crowd, particularly the table where James's law firm partners sit. The real surprise is what James and his associate David discussed in the hotel bar afterward, specifically their plans to defraud the firm's biggest client next month. The FBI found that conversation particularly interesting when I forwarded it to them this morning. As if on cue, two men in suits enter the ballroom, badges visible. Speaking of the FBI, I smile, watching James's eyes dart frantically between the agents and the nearest exit. Rebecca starts hyperventilating, her mother frantically fanning her with a wedding program. James Harrison, one of the agents announces, we have some questions regarding suspicious transactions from your client accounts. The chaos reaches its peak. Guests are recording everything on their phones. Society reporters are furiously taking notes. And through it all, I stand calmly at the altar, a vision in white, orchestrating the destruction of the man who thought he could deceive me. You crazy bitch, James finally snaps, lunging toward me. But before he can reach me, security intervenes, and the FBI agents quickly step in. The sight of James Harrison, New York's rising legal star, being handcuffed in his wedding tuxedo is something I'll cherish forever. Rebecca tries to run, but her $2,000 bridesmaid dress betrays her, causing her to trip on the stairs. As she's helped up by security, I approach her slowly, the train of my wedding dress sweeping behind me. You know what the saddest part is, Rebecca? I would have forgiven a one-time mistake, but you both chose to humiliate me, to laugh at my trust, to plan a future on the ruins of my happiness. So now you get to experience what public humiliation really feels like. I turn to address our stunned audience one final time. Thank you all for coming to my wedding. While I may not be getting married today, I did get something better. Justice. The open bar will still be available for the next hour. I suggest you all drink up. It's not every day you get to witness karma in action at the plaza. As the dust begins to settle in the grand ballroom, I find myself standing alone at the altar, the chaos of my orchestrated revenge swirling around me. The FBI agents are escorting James out, his perfectly tailored tuxedo now wrinkled and disheveled. Rebecca is being comforted by her shell-shocked parents, mascara streaks mapping, her face like war paint. The murmurs of the guests blend with the clicks of camera shutters and the furious tapping of journalists on their phones. I take a deep breath, savoring the moment. The air feels different now. Lighter, as if a great weight has been lifted. Off my shoulders. I catch my father's eye in the crowd. He looks stunned, but there's a glimmer of pride there too. He always taught me to stand up for myself, though I doubt he ever imagined it would manifest quite like this. As I make my way down the aisle, this time alone, guests part like the Red Sea. Some avoid eye contact, others stare in open-mouthed shock, and a few even offer subtle nods of approval. I hold my head high, my $12,000 Vera Wang dress now a symbol not of a failed marriage, but of my resilience and strength. Outside the plaza, it's a media frenzy. Reporters shout questions, cameras flash, and curious onlookers gather to witness the spectacle. For a moment, I consider slipping out. The back. But then I straighten my spine and step into the limelight. I've earned this moment after all. "Ms. Mitchell, can you tell us what happened in there?" a reporter shouts. I pause, turning to face the sea of cameras. What happened in there was the truth coming to light. Sometimes happily ever after means saving yourself. As I slide into the waiting limo, originally meant to whisk away the newlyweds, I catch a glimpse of my reflection in the window. I barely recognize the woman staring back at me. She's stronger, fiercer, unbroken. The driver turns to me. "Where to, miss?" I smile, a genuine smile for the first time in weeks. "The airport. I have a honeymoon to enjoy." As the limo pulls away from the plaza, leaving behind the wreckage of what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, I feel a sense of liberation. My phone buzzes incessantly. No doubt news of the wedding-turned-disaster is already spreading like wildfire through New York's elite circles. I switch it off, deciding that the world can wait. I may not have gotten my fairy tale ending, but I've written my own story, one of resilience, self-respect, and the kind of karma that would make even the most jaded New Yorker believe in justice. As the city skyline fades in the rearview mirror, I realize that this isn't an ending at all. It's a beginning. My perfectly planned revenge was flawlessly executed, but the real victory isn't in their downfall. It's in my rise from the ashes of betrayal. I'm Sarah Mitchell, and this is just the first chapter of my new life. Watch out, world. I'm just getting started. The New York skyline glitters outside my office window, a view I once shared with James. Now, it's the backdrop to my own success story. I adjust my CEO nameplate on the desk. Sarah Mitchell, founder and CEO of Phoenix Investments. The irony isn't lost on me that the skills I honed planning my wedding day vengeance led me here. After that fateful day at the plaza, I took my honeymoon solo, 2 weeks in Bali that became 2 months of self-discovery. When I returned to New York, I was ready to rise from the ashes of my old life. My phone buzzes. A news alert. James Harrison denied parole. I allow myself a small smile. His fall from grace was spectacular. The evidence I provided led to a 15-year sentence for embezzlement and fraud. Last I heard, he was teaching basic law courses to fellow inmates. Rebecca didn't fare much better. After a brief stint in rehab, for exhaustion, she tried to rebrand herself as a life coach. It didn't take. Now she runs a small PR firm in New Jersey, her dreams of Manhattan glamour long faded. As for me, the runaway bride of Wall Street became the phoenix of finance. The very public implosion of my wedding made me infamous, but my subsequent success made me a legend. Phoenix Investments specializes in helping women recover financially from divorce and betrayal. Turns out there's a big market for that. My personal life? It took time, but I learned to trust again. Not blindly, like before, but with eyes wide open. I'm engaged now to someone who knows my whole story and loves me for my strength, not in spite of it. A knock at my door interrupts my reflections. My assistant pokes her head in. "Your 2 o'clock is here, Ms. Mitchell. The interview for Forbes 30 Under 35 issue?" I nod, straightening my jacket. As I prepare to tell my story once again, I realize that the girl who stood in that wedding dress 5 years ago isn't entirely gone. She's still here, stronger and wiser, ready to help others rise from their own ashes. Before I leave my office, I glance at the framed photo on my desk. It's not a wedding picture or a corporate headshot. It's a selfie I took on that beach in Bali, sun-kissed and smiling, the start of my new beginning. That's the moment I truly said, I do, to myself, to my worth, to my future. As I step out to meet the interviewer, I silently thank James and Rebecca. Their betrayal was the catalyst for my transformation. In trying to break me, they made me unbreakable. I am Sarah Mitchell, and this is my happily ever after, on my own